Love this guy. Love his work. Love all of him. He's RG3, everybody, back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Robert Griffin III? What's going on, sir?
I'm doing great, Rich. Appreciate you having me on, man.
Anytime. Learning, on the fly what a displaced fractured of the glenoid is. Now I'm sort of WebMDing it this morning. What does it mean, do you think, for the Cleveland Browns season, Robert Griffin III?
Well, first and foremost, you hate to see anybody get hurt.
Yep.
And for the Cleveland Browns, it just shows you how fragile this league can be. They have a Super Bowl caliber defense, and their team sitting there at 6-3, having some big wins, obviously against the Ravens this past week. But I think the most impressive thing from them as a team is they haven't needed Deshaun Watson to be the $230 million quarterback that they paid him to be. In the second half of the game against the Ravens, he went 14 for 14. He managed the game. He used his athleticism, even though he had a high ankle sprain and a broken shoulder, to extend drives. And I think if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, that should give you some level of hope, knowing that your defense and the way that your team is constructed, that you don't need a quarterback like a Patrick Mahomes or a Joe Burrow or a Lamar Jackson to get you over the hump and be competitive. Now, I don't know if that's going to help them come playoff time if they make the playoffs or go on a Super Bowl run, but they can be competitive and pull off some of these wins, a la the way that the Jets had done early in the season to keep their team in games.
Yeah, and it looks like they're gonna turn to the kid here, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Do you know, you must have called some of his games. You must know him. I'll give the floor to you on that front, because so many people sitting here thinking, well, season's over. Look what happened to him in week 4, as if, not getting all the reps in your hey, by the way, first career start, that's Roquan Smith. That's the rest of just avoid the guys in purple. You know what I mean? Like that ain't easy. So I'll give you the floor on him. Robert.
Yeah, Rich, we've seen teams in this league win Super Bowls without elite quarterback play. And I know everyone will say, well, that was ages ago when you're talking about the Trent Dilfers and the Brad Johnsons. But what they did well is they managed the game. They had elite defenses behind them, and they protected the football. When you look at DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, went to UCLA. I didn't get a chance to call any of his games at UCLA, but I do know his strength coach, Coach Belton, extremely well, and he just raved about how much of a competitor DTR is. And when you look at him from a structure standpoint, can he use his mobility to extend plays? Yes, he can. The one thing he didn't do very well in his one start was protect the football. So if he can learn to protect the football, not put his defense in bad situations, lean on the playmakers that are around him, I'm not going to sit here and say the season is absolutely over. I'm just not that negative of a guy. And I believe in a guy like DTR can go out and get the job done enough for this Cleveland Browns team to still be in the AFC North race and potentially go to the playoffs.
But who would you choose right now out of the 4 in that division, Robert?
Oh, I mean, if I'm choosing out of the division, it seems counterintuitive because they just lost, but I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens. Here's the thing. Lamar Jackson hasn't been MVP Lamar Jackson a la 2019, where he had 36 touchdown passes and he was running the hoot out of the football. So when he starts to pick up his level of play and consistency over the next few weeks, I think it's only going to add to the firepower that the Baltimore Ravens have. I think they found out that they have a home run hitter in Keaton Mitchell at running back, and they're going to put a little bit more load on him throughout the rest of this season to get him ready for that playoff stretch. And I think for them, you rarely say coming out of a game like we had with the Browns and the Ravens that those are the 2 best defenses in the league because they scored 31 and 33 points on each other. But they're going to continue to be 2 of the best defenses in the league. So give me Lamar Jackson and the Ravens.
Well, I mean, this division is going to be really front and center over the next 72 hours, starting with Ravens and Bengals in the bank, and then it'll be DTR and the Browns. Again, that's the assumption here against the Steelers, who are also 6-3 in this division. I honestly thought you would finish your sentence that you'd take the Bengals. No, I mean, I know they just lost too.
Yeah, they did.
And the Texans are no joke with that, certainly with their kid at quarterback. But I don't know. I don't think I can quit Cincinnati on this front, Robert.
Yeah, Rich, this AFC North division, they tend to beat each other up. So when I saw that both the Ravens and the Bengals lost, and I looked at the calendar and I said, oh, this is a Thursday night game that they got coming up, I mean, it's not only is it going to be one of the most physical games of the year, they both have a point to prove now because they're pissed off.
Yep.
The Bengals they don't want to lose anybody. None of these teams want to lose. Trust me, locker rooms always want to win everything. But they certainly didn't think that they would be losing to the Houston Texans. And then you look at the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens had just steamrolled two different teams when you're talking about the Lions and the Seahawks, I believe, showing them that they're the elite class of what it seemed to be in the NFL, and then they lose to the Browns. So I love this division. I know they're going to continue to beat each other up. There's teams like the Steelers who you look at and you say, well, with their yard differential, how the heck are they 6-3? Well, Kenny Pickett's got 6 fourth-quarter game-winning drives in his career, and his QBR in the fourth quarter is higher than Patrick Mahomes and just slightly lower than Tom Brady. Go look that up. He's got an 85.4 QBR in the fourth quarter alone. So even though the numbers might not be jumping up the charts, he's elite when he needs to be elite in the fourth quarter and helping them win games. So this division is fascinating. I absolutely love it. Got a chance to play in it for 3 years, so I know how physical it can be and how much they beat each other up, and that's why they go out and they dominate teams outside of their division.
Robert Griffin III here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk about the Texans a little bit here. I'm already hearing some rumblings on the old internet, which is, dicey. That it's entirely possible that we may see the first ever Monday Night Football flex on your network. Currently, Week 14, you got Green Bay at the Giants. The Jets are hosting the Texans that night. That weekend as well in the same building. So that may be one of those easy swap outs, Sunday to Monday and things. You know what I mean? Like, hey, everyone stay put. We'll just see, obviously. But the fact that that's even a conversation, and it's not because of the Jets. Is saying a ton. What do you think of when you watch CJ Stroud on film and live, Robert? What do you think about it?
Yeah, well, I got to say before I answer the question, it could be because maybe Aaron Rodgers is coming back and because of the way that CJ Stroud is playing. I don't know. And I know there's a lot of speculation. A lot of people don't think it could be true. But from what I'm hearing from my sources, Aaron Rodgers is pretty close to putting those old shoulder pads on and getting back out there on the football field. But let me digress from that conversation.
Okay.
We can talk about it in a second. Let's talk about CJ Stroud because he is playing out of his mind. And when I say that, it's when you watch his footwork, when you watch how he's working through his progressions, the eye manipulation of the safeties. I thought one of the most impressive things that happened in this past game against the Bengals was he threw the interception, right? They come back, they go 3 and out. And then on the game-winning drive, first pass he throws to Tank Dell after scrambling around, Tank Dell drops it. CJ Stroud is unfazed by that. He throws a pick, goes 3 and out, first play of the game-winning drive, drop pass. He comes back and leads them all the way down the field. 3rd and 6, big shot down the field to Dalton Schultz on the seam route. The Bengals tried to show this man everything. They threw the kitchen sink at him on that play. He read it, diagnosed it, got to where he needed to go with the football. Then he comes back on the 2nd and 5 play to Noah Brown, where he breaks the tackles and gets down to like around the 20-yard line, which is essentially the play that got them in bona fide field goal range. Well, Noah Brown ran the wrong route. It was a choice route. He was supposed to break out. He broke in, but CJ's playing so far ahead of the defense right now, he's able to make his guys right even when they're wrong. So he pinned that one on his face. Noah Brown made a great catch, obviously makes a great play after the fact. But I've been so impressed with CJ from that standpoint because the one thing I knew about him coming out was he was a ball placement specialist. That's what he calls himself, and it shows up on tape all the time, and he's raised the level of everybody around him, and you see the swag that they're playing with. So I'm really excited for the Houston Texans because the rest of their schedule, Rich, they could easily make a playoff push, and not just a playoff push, but, could potentially win their division.
I know, because they already have in their back pocket a win in Jacksonville. And the way that they're playing, I mean, Will Anderson, too, Nick Caserio going in and said, let's get Stroud, let's get Anderson. Right now is a heck of a 1-2 punch right now. And then you look at the playoff picture and you're wondering who behind them is playing as well as them. And, other than the Bengals, right, the Raiders have won 2 in a row. But if you put the Texans against and even the teams in front of them right now, there's not many that are playing as well as them. And that's a fact. And that's an absolute fact.
No, absolute fact. And I think if you look at the playoff picture right now, if the playoffs started today, the Texans would be the last team in, and the Bengals and the Bills would both be out. And that's like, it's crazy to think that. But the other crazy thing is CJ Stroud led the Texans to victory against the Bengals against one of the most feared closers in the game in Joe Burrow.
Yep.
And I know Tyler Boyd dropped a touchdown, and a lot of people want to talk about that. But for him to have that, who do you think you are? I am type of moment in that game was just fun. It was fascinating to me to see that. And he did it without his leading receiver, his leading rusher. I think they're starting safety, they're starting kicker. So they weren't even at full strength, and CJ Stroud was able to will them to that victory. The Texans, I don't want to say they're a scary team. I just know that they're a hot team right now, and I don't think a lot of people want to see CJ Stroud the way that he's operating.
Robert Griffin III here on the Rich Eisen Show. So during the summer, you and I had one of our many great conversations about Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and what's going on there, and then both of them say that the page is turned and that's nothing to see here. And then you and I were basically saying, let's just see how things play out during the season. Right. And now they're 5-5 after that Monday night loss. And I want you to interpret Trevon Diggs' tweet for me, please. During the game, his brother tweets out essentially, 14's got to get out of there. So. Right. Can you interpret this tweet for me, or post, whatever the hell they're calling it now, Robert?
Yeah, listen, man. Trevon Diggs, in my opinion, he's watching his brother, who has made an undeniable impact on the Buffalo Bills franchise. I think we can all agree with that. He's helped them become better. He's helped them launch themselves into that quote unquote Super Bowl window. He's also a grown man, and he can say what he feels. So I don't think I can speculate and say that, hey, Stephon Diggs put him up to this. And I know a lot of people in the industry have already talked about how they don't think it's an accident. It's like, well, have we heard anything from Stephon Diggs yet? I haven't.
Right.
I haven't seen anything come on the Twitterverse or on X, since that's what it's called now, that speaks to how Stephon Diggs feels about it. What I do know is that when you have a star receiver and you start losing, speculation is going to start coming around. Look what happened with Devontae Adams. The Raiders start losing games. All of a sudden, everybody thinks that he wants to get traded and that he wants out. And there's reports that he went to talk to the team and they said they're not trading him. So when I look at that from Diggs, he's out with a season-ending injury right now, talking about Trayvon.
Yep.
And he had a feeling. He doesn't want to see his brother on a 5-5 football team. He knows his brother has less football in front of him, or he's got more football behind him than he has in front of him. So I think it's just a concerned brother looking at the situation, seeing that his own brother's not getting the football in a crucial game, and he spoke his mind.
So what about the switch at offensive coordinator in between weeks 10 and 11 in a short week?
Yeah.
So what happens now? What do you think happens in Buffalo moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the numbers, the offensive coordinator was not the problem, but clearly it's not just about the numbers. It's not just about having a top 5 offense. It's not just about having the number 1 success rate in the red zone. There's something else brewing there, it is what it seems, because the question I would have for any coach, this, Rich, when head coaches start to fire coordinators, it's probably because there's a little bit of heat underneath their seat, right? It's not always about just, I'm so displeased with what happened, because the question I have is, does Ken Dorsey get fired if the Broncos miss that kick? Is he the reason that there were 12 men on the field?
Nope.
What, did he just tell somebody to get on out there and make sure we get 12 on the field to try to block this bad boy? Because if they miss that kick, if the Broncos, Will Lutz miss that kick, Ken Dorsey's not getting fired, in my opinion, because they win the game. So I don't quite understand the decision. I don't agree with the decision, although I am a believer in Joe Brady. Had an opportunity to actually go work out for the Carolina Panthers a few years back when he was the offensive coordinator there with Matt Rule, and got to know him, understand his philosophy. I do think he can help, and he has a great offensive mind. I don't think that Ken Dorsey was essentially the problem. And I even put out there in one of my tweets that I think that they should consider hiring Dan Orlovsky in the offseason. Dan is a guy that, like all of us in this new age of analysis, that we break down the tape and we look at it. But Dan believes he can fix their offense and fix their quarterback's turnover issues. So I don't see why it wouldn't be a good idea to at least give him an interview to see what he's talking about.
While we're talking about removing people from Bristol, has your phone rang from the Cleveland Browns today, Robert?
It has not ranked from the Cleveland
Okay.
Browns.
All right.
I've seen some beat reporters. Aditi even tagged me in a tweet asking how I'm doing, and my answer is I'm doing great. I feel amazing. You know,
Right.
ESPN's done a great job giving me opportunities, and I'm having a lot of fun doing what I'm doing right now. But I have had calls throughout the season.
Okay.
But I have not been called by the Cleveland Browns yet.
Okay. So, but none of the calls throughout the season have caused you to just, pitch your outstanding career that you're building right now.
Well, Rich, you know this. This is an opportunity that I can do for the next 30, 40 years of my life since I'm 33. And football will be there for me probably at least for the next 5, 6, 7 years. So it's got to be the right opportunity. I'm not going to jump at any opportunity. It's got to be the right one. And I'll just weigh those opportunities as they come in.
Robert Griffin III here on the Rich Eisen Show. All right, I'll go here on this front. And again, I love how you're always open for this stuff, and you're not responsible for what other people on your network say. So I want that as an upfront. Did Feinbaum not get a hug from Jim Harbaugh once? did he just did Jim just walk in a hallway and he's expecting a hug from Jim and he didn't get one from Jim? Because a few weeks ago he's like, yeah, this is a witch hunt, and now he's like, the whole country is going to be, throwing up in their mouths if Michigan wins the championship. What happened, Robert? What's going on?
I don't know what happened, and you're 100% right. I am not responsible for what everybody or other people say on the network. But my feeling about Michigan is I think there's a lot of information that we know behind the scenes that we're not at liberty to share. But for me, just me in general, I think I know the same things that Paul Feinbaum knows and some other people on our network know. You have to allow due process to run its course. And I don't think that there was an unfair advantage on the football field. And the reason I feel that way is because everybody's stealing signs everywhere. Now, did Michigan break the rules? If the investigation finds that they did, and some of the information that we know certainly seems as if they did, then yeah, there should be some form of discipline. But I don't think it's a discipline of taking money out of somebody's pocket or, levying a massive fine. And I certainly don't think it's banning them from the college football playoff. When I was in college many, many years ago, everyone was stealing signs. That's why there's so many dang signs on the sideline. That's why there's so many people signaling in plays that are dummy signalers because everyone is trying to steal everyone's signs. And it doesn't matter. If you can't stop the plays, it doesn't matter. Some teams just have better players, and you just got to go out there and execute. So I don't think it's an unfair advantage on the field, and I don't agree with some of the stuff. Some people just have a bone to pick with certain coaches. Okay, and for whatever reason, Paul feels the way he feels about Coach Harbaugh.
Well, I mean, there's a difference between bones to pick and then information that obviously has not been proven, and that that can inform you on background to make a stance on the air that you're comfortable making because this information is rock solid. So, are you saying that's stuff that's going on that might prove what Michigan is saying currently wrong, and this is why there's such a strident stance against Michigan prior to an actual investigation being completed?
I don't think that, Rich, and I fully understand that you are a Michigan alum.
Yes, sir. Because I'm eager to find stuff out, man. I'm eager to know. Certainly, since I say stuff into this microphone every day. You know
Correct.
What I mean?
And you're responsible just like I'm responsible for what I say.
Yes, sir.
The information that I know does not alter my stance or make me feel any different about it. Is there some elaborateness to everything that was going on? 100%. It was a very elaborate situation. But once again, to me, what it boils down to is you have to prove what you're being told actually happened. And to me, that takes due process to actually allow the NCAA to go through their investigation. I know some people will say, well, by the time the NCAA is done, it'll be 4 years from now. And I'm like, listen, that's not my problem. That is not my problem. That's the problem of the NCAA. They got to figure that out on their own. But what I'm not going to do is call for those kids to be punished or call for the coach to be punished without due process running its course. If they can't prove it, then it is what it is. If they can prove it and the rules were broken, then discipline them in a way that is suffices to whatever the rule breaking was and what they determine any type of advantage that it gave Michigan.
All right, one last one of what you're willing to share before I let you go, Robert Griffin III. Your vote for Heisman right now would go to who?
Yeah. I'll give you my top 5, Rich.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Hold on a minute. Do we have animation for him?
Do we have music and animation?
Because we do top 5s here.
Hold on
we can give you. I don't know if we can scramble the jets
we'll add it in
so
post.
quickly. We'll add it in post. Okay. Your top Robert Griffin III, top 5. What do you got for me?
Top 5 Heisman. Right now, we're going number 1, big Penix energy, Michael Penix Jr. at Washington. What he's been able to do is nothing short of amazing. All right.
Okay.
Number 2.
Yes.
I'm going with the best game of the year so far was Washington versus Oregon. So Bo Nix.
Okay.
Bo Nix is playing his tail off, guys. So I got him there at number 2. And then for me at number 3, this guy might be the best player in the country. It is Jaden Daniels at LSU. I know they got 3 losses, but that's not what the Heisman's about. Baylor was able to win the Heisman with 3 losses. Louisville won the Heisman with 4 losses. So those are my top 3 right now. And at 4 and 5, I got Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State, and I got Jordan Travis from Florida State. To me, those are the guys that if we do 5 to go to New York, they are the ones that should be going. And that would be, as of today, that would be my Heisman top 5.
Does J.J. McCarthy get dinged because of 28 straight rushes or 32 straight rushes in Penn State?
Okay. I thought you were going to ask if he gets dinged because of the investigation.
No,
he doesn't. He does not get dinged because of the investigation. But yes, he does get dinged because of the 28 straight rushes. Not because I think they could have beat Penn State if they had still thrown the football. But I think they were trying to prove a message. But by trying to prove that message, it kind of hurt JJ's Heisman chances because these other guys are putting up just crazy numbers. And sometimes when you're not doing that, you got to at least throw for 200 and a couple touchdowns to stay within the race.
Okay. Robert, thanks for the time. Love it. Congrats on the success already of RG3 and the Ones, your new pod. We're all podcast. Of course, we're all pod. If you ever need a guest, I'm always there for you. And
on now.
You got it. And tell Feinbaum hello from Captain America. That's
you
me.
got it.
Okay,
and last thing I'll say, my guy, is the whole Draymond thing. Draymond should be suspended for like 25 games. It's crazy.
25?
25 games. Guys, did you see the replay?
It was outrageous.
It was outrageous.
I hear you.
He literally had a preconceived, I am going to get Rudy Gobert any chance I get.
I know, but they hand out 25 game suspensions for like gun charges, Robert. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well,
not to go there, but
listen,
that's what I'm saying.
He didn't have a gun, but he certainly had him, locked between his guns of his arms for about 15 seconds.
He had him yoked up.
Look,
but Draymond's all of his previous incidents, to me, would lead to him. It's a 25-game suspension. It's unbelievable. I can't believe he did that. It was so egregious. And the look on his face was like he was trying to hurt him. He wasn't trying to protect his teammate. He was trying to hurt Rudy Gobert.
Well, we'll find out from the commissioner soon enough. Robert, you're the best, man. Let's do this more often. I say that every single time. And let me know. Oh, seriously, if you need a guest for your pod, I'll be there for you. You just let me know.
All right. I'm going to hold you to them.
Anytime. RG3 and the Ones, where all podcasts are required. And, of course, ESPN everywhere, right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.